Hello, everybody, and welcome to something new here today that we're going to try out. This is our virtual visit show. I'm David Mustonen, Director of Communications for the Dearborn Public Schools. Joining me, Dr. Glenn Maleko. Glenn, how are you today?
Hi, David. Doing very well. Thank you for being here. Doing very well given the circumstances we're dealing with, which we all are dealing with the international crisis. But I'm doing well given that.
Yeah, it's kind of different, right? This is
Absolutely.
our first full day of having no school for about a 4-week period now.
Yes.
And so, we thought that, you are always in the schools. So over 400 school visits a year, do a lot of school visits. And to make sure that you don't miss that too much, we thought we would take a little bit of time every day here, at least for the first week, and do these virtual visits.
Sure.
Since many of our students and teachers are learning online and are taking part in a lot of virtual kind of things and remote learning, that we might kind of do that as well, and at the same time provide an opportunity to kind of update our community on some of the things that we're doing.
Yeah. And if I can also say, too, to the community, we have our official social media and other forms of communication, including robocall, but we always recommend that individuals out in the public are looking at our official sources of information to get the most accurate information relative to Dearborn Public Schools. And as far as being in school, it is a little disappointing given what's going on right now. This is usually the time that I'm in multiple elementary buildings reading to students, and unfortunately that is not going to happen now moving forward, but we'll make it up. We'll make it up, and we'll definitely be there at some point in the future. I am confident of that.
Awesome. That's incredible. Now, I know you've said this many times, and we've heard this in the community a lot as well from other government leaders. This situation, very fluid, always changing. Even today, Monday, March 16th, we saw the governor come out this afternoon and close restaurants and bars today. So, again, very fluid, and I would imagine kind of the same situation here a little bit. Still a little fluid. Things are still changing.
Yeah, always. In fact, if we would have thought about this time last week when we were having our Board of Education meeting, we had put a video out the Friday before talking about the preventative measures. At that point in time, we thought that there may be the need for closures down the line. We did not feel that it was going to come that quickly. Right. But then when we had the emergency situation, the crisis at Whitmore Bowls, it kind of accelerated everything. And then again, the governor announced, I think it was the Tuesday night, about the 2 cases, and now the cases just keep coming out. And so it's very fluid, hour by hour, day by day. That's why I am glad that we were very proactive. As you're aware, you're on the crisis team. We've been meeting for weeks on this issue. We put out communications back in February, and I've moved now to daily meetings. We just left a daily crisis meeting that we had. We have options for in-person meetings and also online. We're also looking at virtual ways to communicate with our own team online as well. And so I also just want to, before we move forward, I want to just thank the entire community. I got to say, starts with our crisis team who was there. The principal, we specifically at Whitmore Bowls, Waddell, her engineer staff, Mike Lowe, the entire Whitmore Bowls staff as we were dealing with that, and then the entire staff across the district. Want to mention President Barry, who was there with us last Wednesday, did a phenomenal job with the rest of the board. They were very supportive, came through for us, and they're very supportive. We had city officials, through the mayor's office, Chief Haddad there, all the way up to the governor's office, who I was speaking to, as you're aware, last Wednesday.
That's right.
We were dealing with Wayne County health officials. There were multiple individuals working together. What makes me feel really good, I'm very grateful and thankful, but I'm very appreciative that it gives me extra energy because they are long days right now. And when I see people coming together saying we're in crisis, and that's what Dearborn does, we come together.
Absolutely.
And so I'm grateful for our union heads, to our teachers, to our staff, to our community members, to our students that are coming together. And so I just wanted to point that out as well, is that in these tough times, we're going to come together. We're dealing with an international crisis that I have never seen in my lifetime. But we'll stick together, we will get through it, and we'll work together with all the important officials and the community members that are stepping up to help us.
Great, excellent, very well said. Yes, like you said, these kinds of things, this is the time where people come together and we've seen a lot of that. teachers doing a phenomenal job of stepping up with lessons, and
Absolutely.
we've seen pictures of students. Parents have sent pictures of their students already engaged in some learning opportunities.
Yes.
So thanking all of them for all they've done. And,
Yes, absolutely.
And I think you mentioned too. You mentioned Wayne County Health. They did a phenomenal job in supporting us. We're not medical experts. We're education experts. And when it comes to having that medical knowledge, we do have some medical experts on staff with our nurses who did a phenomenal job of coordinating with Wayne County. And speaking of the nurses, they have put together a whole bunch of resources about the coronavirus, the COVID-19 virus. And if you go to our website, www.dearbornschools.org, right at the top there's a link, and our nurses have done a great job of assembling a lot of facts. And we encourage people to do that. Like we said, we're not the medical experts, but they've put together information from the medical experts, and this is factual stuff, and they're updating it, and as things change, they're putting new things on there. So we encourage people to go do that.
And I reiterate that Nurse Khan and her entire team did an outstanding job, so we want to thank them.
Yeah. And so when we're looking at some of those resources for people to go, where should people go? We will continue to talk about that. But our district website, we have a number as well, 313-827-3006. If people have just general questions, we may not have all the answers at that number, but at least we'll be able to give you some information or direct you in the right pathway, or we may be able to, we can take your number and always get back to you about some things. So we encourage people to call that number, 827-3006. Now, if you have specific questions about your school, about your kid's classroom, your child's classroom, your school website, go to your child's school website. They're posting information up there about lessons and things like that. Same with teacher websites. Go to your child's teacher's website, or whatever, with the tool you're using to communicate with your teacher. That's a great place to get that information.
Can I add too? That's where we're often, Dearborn leads the way. We are ahead of the game, and you might remember when I became superintendent in 2015, I did mandate that we would have teacher blogs for every teacher. It took us a while to get to that point, and it was for now in these kind of situations, these kind of decisions that were made prior. And again, it was a teamwork too. It's not. I'm not just saying it's through the board, but it was an important aspect. So we do have that capability to communicate online because of the training and the things we did 5 years ago. Moving forward.
Yep. So there's a whole bunch of questions out there. We'll try to touch on a few of them. I know we put a frequently asked questions document on the website, but I think the biggest one right now that people have been out talking about, and I know you've alluded to it on your website over the weekend, is food, providing lunch and breakfast for students. So I know we have a little bit more information to share.
Yeah, so our team has been working double time, and I want to give credit to the entire team under Mr. Murphy and Mr. Bain from our food services department and their entire staff, because this has come quickly. As we said, it's very fluid, and so they were working until the end of last week, communicating with the state, and then also working with their staff. Thankfully, just so everyone is aware, the funding will come from the state, which actually comes from the federal government. So it's nothing that will take away from our general fund. Again, it will be fully funded through the state because it's the funding that we would have received had we been open for free and reduced lunches. So they've been working vigorously. In fact, we just left the crisis team meeting, and they talked about the plan. So we have a plan that we will distribute food starting on March 17th. It'll be from 10 to 12 o'clock, and it'll be at 6 locations in the district. It'll be at the 3 main high schools, and you can help me with this. I believe it's Woodworth, Salina Intermediate, and McCullough Eunice.
Yes.
So there's 6 sites. People can come and get. It's going to be a grab and go type situation. Anybody under 18, you are on the honor system, meaning it has to be, the lunch has to be for people that are under 18. So if they grab a couple, well, that's because it's for the children in that family.
Right.
And so we are asking for cooperation as far as individuals going in and out. We're going to be working on traffic control. We also have Nephilah Hyder and the PTA that they're going to be helping us with traffic because of the, they won't necessarily be serving the lunches, but the PTA is going to help direct people as to where to go. And just understand that as this, we've never done this before on such a massive level with 21,000 2,000 students. So you're going to need to be patient as we work through some of these things. But our food service department is on top of it. Communications, I believe, has already gone out on this, the specifics. I sent a general communication on Saturday that this is coming, and I do want to credit them for the work they're doing. Other organizations that have reached out to us that want to help, they're doing their own things, and we appreciate that. But right now, we're allowed to offer breakfast and lunch, and it would be between 10 a.m. to 12 o'clock, Monday through Friday, starting tomorrow, Tuesday, March 17th, at those 6 locations.
That's great. That's a great resource. And I believe, too, that if students are worried, if their parents are worried about weekend meals, you'll be able to pick up weekend meals on Friday. Is part of that as well. So
fantastic.
That even provides that nutrition over the weekend time. So again, information on this is on our district's website. So we want to make sure people visit there if you want all the details. All of the detail just came out just recently because, as Dr. Maleka was saying, there was a lot to this as far as the logistics, the funding. This is federally funded programs and food, so we have to be careful with making sure that we're dotting all the I's and crossing the T's, but we wanted to do it as quickly as possible to get that out there. So we'll be able to take care of that. Another question that has been popping up, and I think we'll just try to address a few of these here, and we'll get into more details about some specific programs as the week goes on, but I'd just like to maybe ask a couple of things that I know have been popping up in the community. A lot of people have been asking, is the school year going into the summer? Are we going to be going into July? When's the school year going to end?
So those are unknowns at this time because we don't really make those decisions. Those are based on state determination from the governor's office. The governor has shut down the schools for the 3-week period, and then we have the 4th week as spring break. So at this point in time, our assumption is that those days may either be forgiven or she may declare makeup. But we honestly do not have an answer to that at this point in time because it's the state officials that will be making those determinations. We do not. We have to comply with the 180-day requirement. So if they didn't make any changes or any exemptions, then we would have to make up the days the way the current law is. Our assumption is just like last year when there was the ultra freezing days that we had and the weather conditions with the state of emergency, that they'll take that into consideration. But at this point in time, it's fluid. We do not have the answers and we do not have the authority to make that decision at this point in time. So more information on how that'll be handled will be forthcoming from the governor's office and or the Michigan Department of Education.
Okay. And kind of along that same line, I'm sure it's probably the same answer, but, there's been a lot of questions about upcoming events, big events, honors nights, assemblies at the schools, end of the year concerts, plays, even graduation in June. We don't know at this point, right?
Yeah, and right now I would say that they're put on hold at this point in time. We had made that decision prior to closing schools that we are going to hold off, and that's following the governor's order. Sure. So to be honest, you could not implement them the way they were based on having to stay, I believe it's 250 maximum in a group, and that may be changing. As you said, that she just closed down bars and restaurants, so I don't know, maybe that number, she did recommend to schools to stay under 100. So those events couldn't operate under the current governor's orders unless you modify the way you would do it. So again, there'll probably be more information forthcoming. We're in a time that we've never been in before, and so we'll have to get creative. Again, what I would say to students is, so they're not disappointed, I know graduation is my favorite day of the year, and we may have to, it may look differently, or it may have to get postponed. Yeah. But we will make sure we recognize our students in some way. But all those things right now are on hold. As things develop and evolve, then we will make decisions as that time gets closer.
And that's why I think it's important that, we do this program every day this week, and then as the next week we'll determine whether we need to keep doing it every day. Because this information is very fluid, and we need to make sure we're getting it out to the public. Another question about staff. We have close to 2,700 staff members. Is all the staff working in the buildings? Now, our teachers are working many from their homes, remotely. But are staff working? Are they working this week? Are they in? Are they not?
So we have essential staff that are working right now, and teachers are working, like you said, from home. They're preparing for online learning and other things. Some of our administrators are doing the same thing. We are just to make it clear, parents and students are not allowed in the buildings per the governor's order without special permission from the principal, which will have to go through our crisis team. And part of that is just as we're looking at dealing with the virus, and we don't want it to spread. We don't want massive amounts of people coming in and out. As far as the buildings, right now we've authorized teachers were allowed to come in this week, today and tomorrow, Monday, Tuesday, to get their things. We don't want them assembling in large groups. Sure. We are allowing engineers to be in the buildings to monitor the buildings. We had an engineer meeting on Friday, and then custodians will start coming into the buildings effective Wednesday, those that are determined by the operations department as we look at additional deep cleaning. Again, we had that contractor that we hired, but we're also looking at our staff. I'm proud of our operations staff because weeks ago they hired supplies. Supplies are at a premium right now nationally. Sanitizer and all those disinfectants. Well, we were just told today that they're on their way in because he had ordered them long ago. So we will have custodians in. As far as central office goes, basically we're on a skeleton staff. We're trying to limit the number of people coming into the building. Central office is closed to visitors, so that's why people need to use the number or the email to communicate with central office. A limited number of staff are allowed to come into the building, but only staff is permitted to enter the buildings at this point in time. But we are not working. We're working on a skeleton staff, those essential staff that need to be there during this week, March 16th.
Perfect. Okay, now, and like I said, there's lots of topics that we want to cover, and we'll touch on all of them. And I think tomorrow we're going to bring Dr. Chokol in, or maybe Mr. Patterson, our Director of Information Technology. There's a lot of questions around this remote learning, and it looks so different, not only at each grade level, but at each school. So I think that'd be better if we spend a little bit more time on that tomorrow. Sure. Bring in those folks, and
absolutely, that sounds good. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to tomorrow, and everyone, wishing you all the best in the community. We thank everybody for coming together and supporting the process. Before we go I also want to mention this. More information will come out on this, but people also are in a time where they want to donate money and other things. So we're working with our Education Foundation. More information will come out, but we are working with that, so we have a place for people to go where they know that kind of donation will be used for our students, and always to put students first. So I don't have the roll-up one, but I went to the old one, the tradition. Right. I'm pulling out the old traditional one.
That one works better here in the studio.
But I just want to thank everyone. Again, it comes down to our Board of Education, outstanding leadership from Hussein Berry and all the board president, to all the board trustees that did a fantastic job supporting us, to our crisis team, to our administrators, to our staff, to our teachers, to our union heads, to the Wayne County Health Department, Governor's Office, the state officials, local officials, parents, community members, and of course the students. I just got to thank everyone. It makes, to know that everyone's there supporting as we're dealing with these very difficult and tough times is very reassuring. And we've done this in the past with donations and other things that we've come together. But now we really need everyone coming together and supporting each other. And so everyone, I wish you all the best for healthy and safe days ahead. Thank you.
And that's it. That says it right there. Thank you, Dr. Malenko. Thanks, Len, for being here. Thanks, everybody, for taking a few minutes. And again, we're going to be trying to do this every single day, at least for the next week here. So let's keep tuned in. And until then, we'll see you next time.
Let's do a little bit of a...
Oh, yeah. There we go. See ya.
All right.